Good Sunday morning. I'm Rielle Creighton. Time now is 8 o'clock. Here's what we're working on for you right now. We're following a developing story. Two police departments searching for suspects after an armed robbery and shooting. What we know this morning. Tensions growing with Iran after a deadly airstrike kills a top general. The latest on what President Trump is saying and the protests here at home. But first, a live look outside this Sunday morning where we are getting off to a cooler start. Meteorologist Jennifer Correa is here to tell us how long it will last.
This is CBS 4 News This Morning.
It is 8 o'clock on Sunday, January 5th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rielle Creighton. Let's get our first check of your Sunday morning weather. CBS 4 meteorologist Jennifer Correa joins us now. Morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Rielle. It is sweater.
Jennifer, thank you. We're following a developing story now out of northwest Miami-Dade where police are looking for suspects after they say one person was robbed and shot. This morning, it's still unclear if any of the officers fired their weapons. CBS 4's Ty Russell has the latest from the scene. Now at 8:04, thousands of people gathering overnight in Iran for the funeral procession of General Qasem Soleimani, who was killed in Iraq by U.S. airstrikes. Well, thousands of people also turning out in Baghdad for another funeral yesterday. And nearby, rockets fell inside or near the zone that houses the U.S. Embassy. Back here at home, those concerned about another war taking to the streets. Actress Jane Fonda addressed protesters outside the White House. Rallies were also held in New York's Times Square, outside Chicago's Trump Tower, and even here in South Florida. We'll have more on that in a moment, but first, CBS 4's Natalie Brand has the very latest from Washington.
President.
The White House has sent Congress formal notification under the War Powers Act of the drone strike that killed Soleimani. Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tweeted that the classified notification is, quote, raises more questions than it answers about the timing, manner, and justification of the decisions to engage in hostilities with Iran. Well, as we mentioned earlier, protests were held all over the country, including in Miami. A small group gathering at the Torch of Friendship, letting anyone driving by know that they are against the airstrike in Iraq. Dozens in downtown Miami were upset over the United States raising tensions with Iran. Along with chants, some held signs saying, "Don't Iraq Iran," and "No U.S. war in Iran."
There's more to dealing with other societies than merely imposing one's will by overwhelming force. People will rebel against that.
More than 30 other similar protests were held across the country. And this morning, Homeland Security says it is looking at potential new threats against the U.S. following the airstrike in Iraq. In just a few minutes, we'll tell you what is being done to keep people safe here on American soil. But first this morning, traffic moving along again in the southbound lanes of the Palmetto Expressway. That wasn't the case last night. A car fire brought all southbound lanes near I-75 to a standstill, causing a backup miles long. Another vehicle was involved in the incident, but authorities are still trying to figure out exactly what happened. The good news here, no one was hurt. Meantime, Grammy-nominated rapper DaBaby is out of jail this morning, released on $1,500 bond after being arrested Thursday night. Police say DaBaby, whose real name is Jonathan Kirk, is charged with battery after a fight with a music producer. Last week, he was arrested in North Carolina for marijuana possession and resisting a law enforcement officer there. He was also wanted in Texas for other charges, but those have since been dropped. Well, we have new details this morning on those sewer main breaks in Fort Lauderdale. City officials have lifted a precautionary advisory for water-related recreation in a section of the Tarpon and New Rivers. Crews are still working to repair some of those sewer mains. At least 6 have broken in several neighborhoods, including Rio Vista, Victoria Park, and the Coral Ridge Country Club estates. We're also learning more about Friday night's deadly shooting on I-95. This morning, we are hearing from the family of the 22-year-old woman who was killed. Police say Melissa Gonzalez was hit by a stray bullet. Her boyfriend was also in the car and was able to pull over and call for help. Gonzalez was rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital, where she later died. CBS 4's Amber Diaz will have a full report ahead at 8:30. Also ahead at 8:30, Oprah makes a stop in South Florida. The message the media mogul has for the thousands of people who joined her at the BB&T Center. But first, fires described as apocalyptic, burning across more than half of Australia. The desperate efforts to get them under control. And back here at home, Princess Meadows Playground now open in Coral Springs. How it's creating something good from tragedy. Happening now, firefighters in Australia are trying to contain more than 200 out-of-control brush fires now burning across more than half of the country. A CNN reporter on the ground describing the situation as apocalyptic. The deadly fires have destroyed more than 1,300 homes and burned more than 12 million acres. With no end in sight, officials are doing everything they can to get people out. The death toll now at 24. Firefighters from the U.S. are there helping, but still struggling to contain the fires. Experts estimate that as many as 500 million animals have died in the fire, but many people are doing their part to help them, including one firefighter. Photos posted online show him hand feeding a kangaroo water as they are surrounded by charred land. Well, in news across America, the Department of Homeland Security says it is looking at potential new threats against the United States. CBS 4's Kenneth Gregg has more on security efforts to keep people safe on American soil.
New York.
Well, now at 8:15, closer to home, speaking of security, new safety technologies could soon be coming to Florida classrooms. The family of Parkland shooting victim Alyssa Alhadeff is pushing for a new bill called Alyssa's Law. It will require a panic button or similar technology for teachers and administrators in every public school in the state. The button or even an app would instantly notify law enforcement when something is not right on campus. And the families of other Parkland victims coming out for a day of celebration and remembrance. Princess Meadows Playground is now open in Coral Springs. It's dedicated to 18-year-old Meadow Pollock, who was killed at MSD. We caught up with one parent who says this is another step forward in the healing process.
The park is just unbelievable.
Although it is named after Pollock, a plaque that commemorates all of the victims was also installed at the. All right, Jennifer, thank you. Face the Nation is coming up at 10:30 right here on CBS 4. Moderator Margaret Brennan joins us live from Washington, D.C. this morning. What are you guys working on for today's show?
Well, President Trump says he wants to stop a war, not start one. But last night, he threatened to bomb 52 sites in Iran, as that country said it wants to avenge the death of Qasem Soleimani, a top general, a terrorist, one that was killed in U.S. drone strikes just a few days ago. We'll press Secretary of State Mike Pompeo about what seems to be escalating threats, even though the administration says they want to de-escalate. We'll speak to former CIA director and retired General David Petraeus about what happens now to U.S. interests in the Middle East. He personally faced off against Qasem Soleimani. He'll talk to us about what taking him off the battlefield means. We'll also bring into the conversation two key political figures, Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio and Connecticut Democrat Chris Murphy. There's a debate right now about reining in presidential war powers, whether Congress should have more oversight, as details of the imminent attack the administration says that was being planned are not being shared. We'll talk about all of that ahead.
A full show ahead. Thank you, Margaret. Remember, Face the Nation gets started at 10:30 this morning right here on CBS 4. Well, another check of your Sunday morning headlines and forecast is next. Plus, it's a foodie's dream come true. Taste of Italy and Asia all under one roof. CBS 4's Lizzie Petrillo takes us to Casa Sensei in this morning's Taste of the Town. And severe weather causing damage in parts of Florida. We'll tell you where people say a twister may have touched down. CBS 4 this Sunday morning. We'll be right back.